In this video, we're going to be talking about quadratic functions. So what does the parent function of a quadratic function look like? So what's like the general, quadratic function? And here we see that our quadratic function looks like a U, and the vertex is at 0, 0. That's our minimum value. The domain is all real numbers. The range is any number greater than or equal to 0. We have a y-intercept of 0, 0. And we also have an x-intercept of 0, 0. It decreases from 0 to, it's decreasing from negative infinity to 0, and it's increasing from 0 to infinity. It's an even function. Its axis of symmetry is 0. And that's it. That's kind of like everything you need to know about our parent function, which is y equals x squared. So what is the standard form of a quadratic function? I bet you think you know what it is. Well, this is standard form of a quadratic function. You're thinking, hang on, that's not right. That's not what I remember from school. Shouldn't it be f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c? Well, it just so happens that this is what we call the general form. And so this is the standard form. And each piece plays a part. So here, that negative in the front, that tells us that it's going to reflect across the x-axis. If there's a value in the front that's being multiplied, then that's going to be a vertical stretch or shrink. If that number's larger than 1, it's going to be a stretch. And if it's between 0 and 1, it's going to be a shrink by that value. What about the m? Well, the m signifies the horizontal stretch or shrink. But it's kind of reversed. It kind of does the opposite of our vertical stretch or shrink. So here, it's a stretch if the number is between 0 and 1. And it's a shrink if it's greater than the number 1. But when we say like, oh, it's a horizontal stretch by a factor of, it's actually by the reciprocal. So it's by 1 over m as opposed to m. The h tells us if we're going to go left or right. If we see a plus sign, we're going to go to the left. And if we see a minus sign, we're going to go to the right. And the k tells us if we're moving up or down. An up if we see a plus sign, and a down if we see a minus sign. And then our vertex, which is kind of a big deal with quadratic functions because it's our maximum or it's our minimum. Our vertex is the point h comma k. Now sometimes if you have a number on the inside, like if you have mx minus h, you actually kind of need to set that equal to 0. So this part right here is kind of like a little asterisk. So for our vertex here, if you have an mx minus or plus h, you need to set that whole thing equal to 0 and solve for that. So really, here that value is going to be h over whatever m is. Okay, so h over m. A lot of times, though, there's not a number there in the problems that we do, so we just call it h comma k as opposed to h over m comma k. And so that is what the standard form of a quadratic function looks like, and from it we can pull our vertex. We know how the graph is going to move, so it actually ends up giving us a lot more information than our general form does.